Yo, what's up, everybody? You know what I'm saying? I'm here to speak on and collaborate about this case about knowing, Nolan Wells and stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is everyday living that we live. You know what I'm saying? Every day we live like this in America, man. So a lot of stuff is hidden, untrue, unsolved, and man, we trying to help this brother solve this situation. We warn about it the way that we go about it. And if you got time to listen, I got time to show you a little, collaboration of how I feel about this situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a major spokesman, but I'm just here to try to collaborate what's going on with this situation from my perspective and so on. You know what I'm saying? So you got the time to take out some time to listen to what I gotta say and tell you about show you a little footage of what I see about this case and stuff like that. Nolan Wells, I'm gonna try to show it to you, but just be patient with me. So I'm not, not graphic, but I'm here to share it with you. When you got time to listen, I'm going to show you how I feel about this situation.
Will be a grand jury that she will turn this case over to once they have collected all the information.
The investigation into the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells is picking up speed as it's now being reported this case may be headed to a grand jury, just as newly released GPS data and dispatch audio are raising new questions about what happened in Nolan's final hours. We're going to break it all down and what this could mean right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, so we have to talk about a huge new phase that we're now entering in the investigation into the death of Nolan Wells. If you recall, 18-year-old college football player disappeared while out boating with friends on the July 4th weekend. They were going to Horn Island. This is off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. His body was found.
Stop it right there. Horn Island. You know what I'm saying? Horn Island. How many people that you know will want to go to Horn Island? If you go to Horn Island, you better have your mind made up, because this stuff is shocking, man. You get on an island called Horn Island and think, what do you expect is going to happen to you? Somebody wants you to prove yourself or something like that of that nature. What are you expecting to go on a Horn Island? I really want to know. So that's why, I'm collaborating today. But yeah, started back up.
Found nearby 2 days after he vanished. Now, the family has met with the district attorney, and this investigation, it is now being reported, may be headed to a grand jury. If that is true, we are one step closer to possibly finding out who, if anyone, is responsible for Nolan's death, or whether anyone committed any crimes in connection with this investigation. And to be clear, I'm not saying that's the case, but when you hear the reports that this may be going to a grand jury, that's what you have to be thinking, right? Because when you think of a grand jury and potential crimes, it could mean a whole host of things.
Yeah,
but let's not forget, there is still a lot of mystery that needs to be solved here. Key pieces of the timeline seem to be still being debated. Some of the most important evidence hasn't been fully analyzed yet. And we all...
And like when he says it hasn't been fully analyzed, or we need more data, we need people to step up and say how they feel about the situation in this case here. We need people to step up, you know what I'm saying, the friends. I'm not pointing a finger at the white people because I'm black. You know what I'm saying? I collaborate on this because your friends, if like me, I put myself in this situation. I got a lot of white friends, you know what I'm saying? If my white friends want to step up and say nothing about it, then I'm going to invite the same case right here. You know what I'm saying? But evidently, it's something going on. Somebody needs to step forth about this situation right here, because it's really just getting out of hand. How could all these people be on this boat and nobody seen or know nothing about this young man that just got lost his life? And it's an unsolved case here. And that's what's just bothering me. But we're gonna carry on and see what they analyze and everything found out. But if they found out anything.
Also, and maybe most importantly, we still do not know Nolan's official cause of death. We don't know when the results of the family's independent autopsy is going to be released. Last week, we were hoping to have that update for you on July 10th when the family's attorney, Ben Crump, said he'd initially expected to have the preliminary findings, but for now, we're still in the dark on them. Crump has said that flight cancellations are causing transport issues in getting Nolan's body to D.C. for that examination. And at the same time, there is no autopsy results that have been released as part of the official state investigation either. At last check, the toxicology reports are still pending. To be clear, by the way, last week, Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter indicated there is no reason to suspect foul play. We have no reason.
Well, if there's no reason to expect foul play, you know, you have no reason to expect foul play is what he's saying in this case here. You know, but some people, not even the extended family, but certain situations like this affect people in the United States. I don't know how to put this, but I'm trying to put it into good perspective so I can try to understand the approach and what the next move is gonna be with people, you know, because sometimes people feel a certain kind of way. They can't help themselves. You know, from people having these evil intentions and whatever, but at the same time, it just could be a careless mistake or something just happened random, but we never can tell because stuff like this happens, and then we're left looking like, man, what's going on with the situation here? You know, and we're really trying to figure it out. But we're gonna carry on a little further because they try to find out something about the data in the cell phones and if it lead in a leak or anything in that nature. And I'm trying to collaborate with that right now. But we're gonna get into it and see what the data from the cell phones and all that stuff even got to do with anything right now.
Anyway, how do you have this dual investigation? And I mean, the family reportedly believes that data may have been deleted from that phone. So that raises an interesting question, as well as why Nolan didn't have his phone. We've talked about that before. You're going into the water. Maybe you wouldn't have your phone. Maybe you leave it on board. Then again, if he was planning to go out, hang out with this girl, as the reports have been, why wouldn't he have taken his phone? So some interesting questions. And we should also point out that the phone is currently in the hands of Crump's independent investigators. That's what the reporting suggests. And by the way, the family recovered Nolan's phone using the Life 360 app, and they have apparently had it since. And then we have this. This is big too. This is a big update. New details are emerging about the timeline surrounding Nolan's death. What do I mean?
The timeline is, okay, we on the timelines that, concerning his death. And then when we look back on things, it shows the timelines that there was boat problems. You know what I'm saying? There was boat problems on that boat. So from my knowledge, if there's boat problems, why would you even want to get on the boat? If you know they having boat problems and stuff like that. Why would you want to get on the boat? And if you know they having problems and stuff like that, bro, I don't understand it too. That shows that throws a red flag up again. If you having boat problems, why would you want to get on a boat? Anybody have a question? My lives are open. If you having boat problems, why would you want to get on a boat if you know you're having boat problems and stuff, man? I don't understand it too much, but I'm trying to still put it in perspective and get some understanding because this is what we go through all over America. Not just me as
the boat was having trouble at around 4 p.m. The boat operator reportedly said, "Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn and our bilge pump stopped working. I want to get this boat unsank and towed back." That boat was reportedly towed for 3 miles. It picked up speed less than an hour later. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit more. And look, we also know from the Jackson County Sheriff, again, John Ledbetter, that Nolan did not come back on that boat. We don't know for certain if Nolan was on that boat during the call or if he was already off the boat at that point. But look, as far as we can tell, what we seem to know is that at some point between that call and 4:31 p.m., when the boat left, it seems Nolan was no longer with them. So what happened?
Okay, what happened? If they had both problems and he's no longer with them. That's where we at right now. He's no longer with them and they having both problems over here off this island, you know, both problems coming and people trying to figure out what's going on with this boat. You got your white friends there and all this is going on, but you wanted to ride on this boat with these individuals and not knowing that what they up to, you know. But at the same time, we're gonna go back to where it said something about the GPS location, stuff like that. We're gonna go back to the GPS location on the boat. You know what I'm saying? Where's the location? We got the location on the boat. You know what I'm saying? So you should have a little evidence on to show you what's going on with the situation right here with their hands. But like they say, it's newly released information about this you know what I'm saying, tragedy is it unfold. And if we have a boat problem and the GPS has the location of the boat, and we're gonna see carry on.
Information regarding GPS data tracking the boat's movements that day. So these little missing pieces of the timeline are starting to come together. We're going to talk about what the GPS data seems to show. This is all trying to go to answer the questions that the family has, right? That's all that matters. Can you answer the questions that the family has? Now we're going to get into it all. I actually want to start with what we learned at this press conference about this grand jury. So Ben Crump announced that the family met with Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McGrath. And arguably the biggest takeaway from that meeting came directly from Crump.
She shared with the family that there will be a grand jury that she will turn this case over to once they have collected all the information and finished their investigation. We also agreed that we will have a mutual inspection of the cell phone with our experts and their experts. Attorney Eric Hertz is helping lead the investigation team with former law enforcement experts who are going to help us with the cell phone download. So everybody will be able to see at the same time.
Yeah, we need the cell phone data because that's unsolved cases, man. People need to be looking out for their people, man. Because this stuff will escalate and trickle all the way down to, you know what I'm saying, other individuals. This stuff is, if it's a foul play, even though they say it's not no foul play, but at the same time, what if it was a foul play in this situation right here? You know what I'm saying? But I feel like that, something is not right about this situation. If you got all your friends with you, they should know something about something. That's just how I see it, you know what I'm saying, personally, in general. They should know something about something. But nobody steps up to say anything about this. And got nothing they can, no evidence, new evidence that they want to bring forth and show everybody. But we got everybody, but like I said, somebody's gonna come forth, man, and bring some evidence to put a little highlight on this situation. To show us what's going on with this Nolan Wells. Somebody's gonna bring forth some more information and open this detail the situation up more to us. Right now, we're gonna carry on.
Now, I got to be clear about something. This grand jury doesn't mean that they're charging someone, but it does seem to mean that the DA could present the evidence to a group that will decide whether charges should be brought. And it also becomes a question whether the DA would actually move forward with that. Look, as we previously discussed in this case, there's been a lot of misinformation that has been spreading online. In our last episode, we addressed this viral video that has been circulating, the one that was initially believed to show Nolan in some sort of argument over his phone. But a friend of Nolan's later came forward to the media and said it wasn't Nolan in the video. It was him. He had this argument. And Ben Crump acknowledged that they're getting conflicting accounts.
That's what a witness told us, and that's what we reported out. Then another witness had come forward and said, no, that was his voice. We have other witnesses who said there were other altercations. So as Mr. Hurt said, we're trying to go through it all and so forth. And we'll be even more careful to say this is what a witness told us in the future.
And so your team hasn't been able to.
So with that statement being said, that means that, you know, we're trying to put a stop on all this stuff that's going on in the dark that we can't see, or all this stuff that's going on behind, you know, people don't want to step up. If you know information, just go ahead and give it to give it to them to make their job a little bit lighter, man. I ain't saying go lie to the police or lie to the authorities, the people that's over you. You know what I'm saying? Even though the system is, you know, it's hard enough for a brother, you say it like that, in America, it's hard enough for a brother in America trying to maintain and live, you know what I'm saying? And just hang out and do what you like to do. Say for instance, I'm gonna collaborate a little bit more about this situation because it could be some jealousy in this situation or anything, but I'm gonna collaborate a little bit later on back on this topic, later on in this broadcast and this live, you know what I'm saying? To try to open up and reveal some stuff to some people that is looking and trying to really figure it out also. So we're gonna keep going with this, and we're gonna see, you know, how much information that we can really unfold with this or reveal with this. You know, and it's just a lot going on. A lot going on here in this case. A lot is going on with this case. This brother right here.
A murder, but there could be some criminal charge that could come out of this. And I think that's all the family has been asking for is a fair investigation so they can know the truth.
Going to the idea of a homicide charge,
yeah, the family really wants some answers, man. Everybody wants answers. Family, friends of the family, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even some of those white people that, you know, that's under, you know, investigation, they probably want answers because they really might don't know. At the same time, they really might don't know when they left the man at the island with his so-called, you know what I'm saying, friend Katie. You know, it could have been jealousy there, anything, man, envy or anything in this situation here, man. But who's to say? You know, but I don't want this to cause no segregation because I got white friends, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of, but at the same time, you know, what's in the dark, you need to bring it on to the light. You know, and this is how I see it. You know, I'm not a minority of a people. I'm just one individual, just speaking my perspective of how I see things. You know what I'm saying? And it trickles down. One thing leads to another, and it's just a big mind maze. You know, trying to find out evidence like finding a needle in a haystack here. But carry on.
Look, it's difficult for me to say anything about this because we don't have a lot of information. We don't have the cause of death, but we also have the reality that if someone is found in the water in that way, it may be difficult to know whether there was blunt force trauma. It may be difficult to know whether somebody was thrown into the water or was drowned, right? I mean, those can be difficult for medical examiners to ultimately assess. What are potential homicide charges here? Is there a theory of a case where if they can't prove that someone killed Nolan, but that was negligent in some way? What are some potential theories that you could see a homicide-related charge with what happened to Nolan? And again, I know we're speculating here, but I'm just trying to understand what we could maybe see: manslaughter, negligent homicide, murder.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, there's so much still we don't know, but we do know there was some statements about there being an argument, whether that was Nolan in the argument or somebody else. So we don't know if there was some sort of altercation or fight. There was no interrogations by law enforcement of the individuals who were with him the day afterwards, right? There's been none of that we know of, that law enforcement has questioned any of these people who were out there on this boat at the island with Nolan Wells. So we don't know what happened, whether it was an argument, whether it was a fight, whether they knew that he was in a position where he could not swim and fend for himself in the water. So
But like again, let me stop it right there. Let me stop it right there for a minute because if there's an altercation going on and there's an altercation going on here, and he's the only different, what I'm saying, race with these people. If there's an altercation going there, it could be, everybody use their mind together type and get somebody really just, if you don't like a person's attitude or you don't like the decision that a person makes, or you don't like whatever, what I'm saying, prejudice we could see having or a person having in their heart towards your own friend, people change up on you just like that. Change up on you in a snap of a finger. You know what I'm saying? I can just say it like that because I know from my wisdom, you know what I'm saying? I know that people can turn on you or change up on you if stuff is not going in their favor, you know what I'm saying? And you say something, coming from your race or whatever. Some people might take that offended. Some people might, take that the wrong kind of way. But at the same time, people gotta process this stuff, man, and let it, let the truth reveals itself. Or you gotta know the truth. But carry on.
all that's the stuff that we don't know, and hopefully from this independent investigation and hopefully from the sheriff's department DA to get some more information that can lead them to come to a definitive conclusion.
And to be clear, when we say we don't know, right, like there's been reporting and there's been one narrative put forward by people who were involved in this about speaking with law enforcement, but it's not like we got an official report or a presser saying these people X, Y, and Z were interviewed. This is what they said. Or, they're not suspects. We're kind of reading between the lines a little bit. I just want to take a step back. Is it significant that the DA met with the family or the DA met with the family's lawyer? Is that common? Does that signify to you something? I mean, we're kind of jumping here and saying it's possible that evidence could be presented to a grand jury, but it could very well not be presented to a grand jury. I'm curious, how significant is it that the DA reportedly met with the family?
This DA said that she commonly meets with families who have lost loved ones. That's one thing that she did say. But out of this, where you have a sheriff that said there's no foul play initially, and then you have the family demand an independent investigation, and then you have a meeting between the family and along with the family's lawyer, that is very significant. I think that shows that the public pressure and the national attention to this area of Mississippi has made the DA change some of the way she's addressing this by meeting with the victim's family and even coming to the extent of doing some joint things together with the victim's family and their attorney. That's not common in situations like this.
What would it say to you if they don't impanel a grand jury, if they don't present evidence to a grand jury, or they do present evidence to a grand jury and the grand jury chooses not to indict? A, two parts of that. What would that signal to you? And B,
Yeah, we're done. Well, we collaborated about the signs of A and B. Know about on or off the votes, on or off a boat, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know how to put this in perspective. The grand jury is investigating, you know what I'm saying, all this, but we're not getting no information.
Ben Crump won't be able to be there. It'll be a prosecutor who's presenting the case to the grand jury that's been impaneled. If they decline to press charges, there will ultimately be questions. People may wonder whether this grand jury was spoon-fed information that would lead them to come to a conclusion of there being no probable cause for an arrest. But I do believe if they do find that there's criminal charges out of the materials that are presented to them, it would affirm some of those suspicions that so many people have about how this has been handled and all the gaps that appear to be present in this investigation in the aftermath of Nolan's death.
But its potential.
Yeah, we got the grand jury. They're gonna get all their information. They're gonna get the witnesses. They're gonna get the people that was there. They're gonna get the best. What I'm saying, interview from those people to try to make you know shine some light on the situation and to try to see if it's a foul play there, or these people are really your friends that they proclaim to be your friends, but then they got you know easy access of to get in and just change stuff completely around. But that's the jury and that's the DA for you because they're not on your side for real, but at the same time they could be on your side. But if you shine the truth on this matter, then you'll really see what really happened. Right here.
That the DA could choose not to go to a grand jury, or even if the grand jury does indict, does the DA have a legal obligation to move forward with the case?
Prosecutors have prosecutorial discretion, so they do not have to go to the grand jury. I believe it's my understanding that they have actually reached a joint agreement that they will present some evidence to the grand jury one way or the other. But the prosecutor can say, well, we decided not to do that. We don't believe there's anything. So they have discretion to pursue charges, not pursue charges, present evidence to a grand jury or not.
How long?
Stop it right there. Yeah, they got the chance to leave evidence or not leave evidence. Me personally, a personality like this, what I'm saying? I got white friends that I think a lot of, man, like I said once before. I think a lot of my white friends, but, if I want to, try to figure out, put this in perspective of what really happened here, I'm really trying to figure it out. This family here, they're going through stuff. And there's families all over America that are going through stuff, And I want to collaborate a little bit about this situation right here, on or off the boat, stand back on Horn Island with a woman. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to know about too. What was the reason you stayed back on Horn Island with a woman that, what I'm saying? But me personally, what I'm thinking, if he stayed back on Horn Island with his friends, what I'm saying, it's, a girl that he liked. Maybe she's Caucasian, maybe she's not. But if she is Caucasian, I'm thinking, me personally, I'm thinking like, what I'm saying, if this woman's Caucasian and he stayed back on the island while they leave on the boat, he stayed back on the island. Evidently, if he stayed back on the island, way I think they trying to, what I'm saying, get some physical therapy going or something like that. But I really want to know why would he want to stay back on the island? But friends, so he shouldn't have no reason to be feeling some type of way about them unless they got some personal jealousy in their heart towards him being happy, and I don't think they do. But we're gonna carry on and see what's going on a little bit more about that. Right here.
Collected from at least Nolan Wells' phone. So there still may be some time for a grand jury is actually in panel.
I want to go to this next part. I mentioned this earlier. NBC News obtained this audio of what appears to be Nolan's friends calling for help for the boat, right? The boat was apparently having problems. I want you to take a listen to this.
We're sinking. Can y'all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Tyler, that's significant. That is a significant piece of this puzzle. What does that tell you? That there was this reported call about the boat that, by all accounts, Nolan was on at some point. It's having problems. Caller says everybody's on board. Again, we don't know for certain whether Nolan was on board during that.
If you're struggling with depression and not feeling the comfort and peace that you need, I invite you to meet with missionaries like me from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We can help you live.
left or wanted to stay behind with a female that he.
Like I was just saying a minute ago, he wanted to stay behind. You know, like I was just saying a little bit earlier in this interview, he wanted to stay behind because he had a female friend on this. You know, he got off with a boat, even though apparently that my good friend here just stated that the boat was having problems. You know, and if a boat's having problems, my nigga instantly gonna kick in. You're not gonna leave me on no. You're not gonna leave me on no island. You know what I'm saying? The boat is already having problems, and we don't know if we're gonna make it back home or not. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of, there's a lot of roots in there, man. But at the same time, it's not. You know, it's a situation that's overlooked or is thoroughly being investigated by people of America. You know what I'm saying? Folks of America today, they trying to collaborate how they feel about this situation that's constantly going on all over, everywhere, all over the TVs and all over the news, all over everywhere. But like I said, he stayed back. He wanted to maybe possibly have some relationship with his companion or whatever. But like I was saying, me, I'm quick to think that there could be some, you know what I'm saying? There could be some foul play in there because they probably don't want them to have their girl. Maybe those couple of dudes that want them to have their girl because they wanted to be with their girl since third period in their previous year of school. They've been wanting to be with their girl, but she had an eye for him, and they just, you know what I'm saying, wanted to take him out, you know, and they didn't see it was right. But it could be numerous of things. Me personally, I'm the last person to try to say there was some racial or prejudice intentions there, even though I don't know. But we're gonna carry on and see why did he stay you know what I'm saying, Horn Island with this person. Why would you want to stay on Horn Island with this person if you're not trying to build a relationship with this person? So carry on.
He met that day at that island on the lake. So it's very significant. The statements could either be one, if it's not true, of course, it's a lie that everybody was not on board, or if he was on board at the time this call was made, what happened after that?
And if you're talking about now dispatch getting involved, there being a towing situation, I'm thinking more witnesses, eyewitnesses to what they saw about the boat or was involved. And by the way, let me go to this part. So CBS News obtained GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, and it tracks the boat's movement. So I want to walk through that timeline. This is information they say they obtained via records request. So it appears to suggest that this boat, this vessel, left the dock at approximately 9:56 that morning, arrived at Horn Island at 11:14. According to GPS data, the boat then reportedly left Horn Island at 4:31 that afternoon, returned to its original departure dock, then traveled into Fort Bayou at around 5:52 before returning to the dock at 6:06. Later that evening, the boat went into the Fort Bayou boat launch at 7:19, traveled overland, which would suggest that it was possibly towed by a vehicle to the owner's residence. And to just kind of put this into perspective, I believe Ben Crump has claimed that Nolan was last seen on the island at 3 p.m. Tyler, what do you take away from this Jeep?
Well, I'm gonna say me personally, what I take away from the GPS is if he is on the island with his friends, you know what I'm saying, it's possibly, you know, there could be suspicions with this situation too. You know, if he's with her, we got a timeline there. What happened when he was with her on the island? But me personally, how I would think what's going on the island, he's trying to build a relationship with this girl, and you know, the parties on the other side. You know, I don't know what they could be thinking. But again, you know, they say there's pieces missing from the social media, posters being missing, and people are going behind the scenes and doing more than what they're supposed to be doing. But you never know. You know, about this party, or whatever the party was about. You know what I'm saying? What kind of party it was? At Horn Island. You know what kind of party that sound like to me, in my mind? You really want to know what type of party they sound like? They sound like, you know, it's a bunch of horn dogs, underage drinking and stuff going on, and stuff could get easily escalate and get out of hand. your best friend, is your best friend, but when you're under influence, people will tell the truth and how they really feel about you. Especially at a young age, a young mind, there people really feel like, well, I deeply really don't like you. Some people could say that, I really don't like you and I really don't trust you. But when you're drunk, the truth comes out. When you're a drunken man, the truth will come out. So carry on about this post, the post and all that social media, missing from the social media and all that. You know, is it a social thing? That's what we want to know. So carry on.
GPS data.
That if he was last seen on the island at 3 p.m. and they apparently not only did they leave there, go to another area, then go to dock and get towed. There's a lot that could have transpired between that time, especially putting that in conjunction with the text messages and Snapchat history that was allegedly deleted from his phone or missing from his phone. So there's a lot of time for people to get their stories straight, to talk to maybe counsel or others about what needs to be the narrative when they arrive. Now, I'm speculating to a lot of this because we don't know. There has been no interrogation of these individuals. There's been no official statements that have been issued, but it's clear that there's been a significant period of time between the boat leaving, the last time Nolan was seen, and this boat getting back to its original owner.
And look, it confirms, or it seems to confirm, right, this boat left 4:31. We still have conflicting accounts about whether Nolan chose to stay behind or he was left behind. And this deep GPS data is going to be an important role, it seems. I will say this, this report, this MSDMR report, also indicates that the boat's owner, his mother, and one other individual who was reportedly with Nolan on the day of this incident have cooperated with the investigation. What does that mean to you that they have cooperated?
Imagine.
I mean, to me personally, if you ask me that, what does it mean that they cooperated? That could mean that could mean a lot of different things. If he cooperated with the people, he cooperated. I'm here to answer questions, chat open. You know what I'm saying? My live, everything is open. I'm here to answer questions and whatever you got a problem with or question about, I'm here to answer the questions about whatever. But we still talking about this Nolan Wells situation though. What Nolan Wells going through. And what his family's going through. We still here collaborating on it. And different people can, put their input or output in on how they feel about this situation. But we want to get back to the law enforcement's distrust with the family. What will cause the law enforcement's distrust with this man's family? Those are questions I want to know too. What will cause, law enforcement to have distrust with this man's family? The only thing that I can see, why do they have distrust with the family? I want to know this too. And so I'm gonna get down a little bit. We're gonna get deep, a little more deep in this case here and see if we can shine a little light on those. There's missing evidence. Law enforcement distrusted with the family, and we want to know why.
I don't think that would have happened without a lot of the chatter going on around the country about how this investigation has transpired, and it shows there's some distrust between the family and law enforcement here. And there, from my understanding, there has been not the best communication with the DA and law enforcement and the family. So the concession to allowing a joint inspection, I think, is an attempt from the government or the state here to try to regain some of that trust with the victim's family.
And I thought it was also unusual, if the reporting is true and if this is accurate, that the family has been in possession of this phone and hasn't turned it over to law enforcement yet. I mean, maybe that's not true, but this is what the reporting seems to suggest. I would, again, imagine that's a little unusual. But also, how does this work? How does a mutual inspection work exactly?
So there should be some forensic experts regarding data extraction present with the state, and also there will likely be an independent one that Mr. Crump's office has present with the DA at the same time. So that way, everybody can see it at the same time, whether all data is being extracted, make sure nothing's being left behind. Because the big issue here is that the early announcement of no foul play, the evidence of the cell phone that the family received, I believe, a couple of days after Nolan went missing, or the night of, I can't recall the exact time, and then the missing of text messages and Snapchat data. And by allowing joint experts or joint data extraction at the same time, is going to help the family feel comfortable knowing that all data is being looked at, is not being piecemeal. Because oftentimes I've seen cases where there's been a cell phone data that's been extracted and the state says, oh, well, that's other information deleted, we can't get it. But that's not normal. When a forensic expert can see what's been deleted, what's been altered in the data.
Does this potentially
Yeah, like I was saying earlier in this broadcast, the data is something. If there was something going on, miscommunication with the friends on the boat while he back on the island, there could have been anything happening there. But we're gonna move a little forward in the broadcast here because I want to know a little bit more details about things. I want to know this one here. I want to know I want to know the details about why staying back on the island, but they stated earlier, he stayed back on the island, with Katie. He stayed back on the island with Katie. I want to collaborate a little bit more about that. Why would you stay back on this island? And we know that he wanted to stay back on this island with Katie because guess what? Katie was so-called being his companion here in this situation. Katie was the companion here. So with that being said, that's why he wanted to stay back on the island to see, with his friend. There was a party going on, evidently, so he wanted to stay back and have fun with his girl. And I want to know a little bit more about what happened here. Why, why did he want to stay back, on this island with Katie? Okay,
he put his phone on the boat's dash along with probably 15 other phones. How do you see it?
That's not usual. I mean, even taking for what we've heard, that there was a young lady that he met named Katie and that he was interested in talking to her, you would think that he would want to be able to text her later on or get in contact with her later. I don't know many 18-year-olds who aren't glued to the hip to their phone. And even if they put their phone somewhere, if they're going to stay behind, they would definitely grab their phone. And so I think that seems suspicious, if anything. I hear the friend's position on it, but it draws many people some ire and gets to the same conclusion of that doesn't sound like the 18-year-olds and 23-year-olds that we know. They like to have their phones on them and keep them close by.
One more point I want to ask you about the autopsies, right? So we have two things going on here. We're waiting for the results of both, right? We're waiting for the state autopsy. It seems that they're waiting toxicology reports. But then the family is, by all accounts, trying to do this independent autopsy out in Washington, D.C. What should we be thinking about these potential dual examinations of Nolan?
Well, everybody has something to say. Well, me personally, if you want to know how I feel about that, everybody has their opinion, you know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own situation, and everybody deal with people accordingly. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, you have friends that's not in the same race as you think a lot of, and, how would that would be portrayed? If you think a lot of somebody, why would they even want to be that way? Be such a big, you know what I'm saying, Dr. Evil to do somebody like this. You know what I'm saying? If you got friends out there that you like and you know what I'm saying, admire or whatever, you like how they did that, you like how they did that. It's a lot of situations like this. I see it, me personally, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of friends that I got, you know what I'm saying, Caucasian friends I think a lot of, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, why would you do certain things? I admire how they do certain things, but at the same time, you know. But the whole scenario of the situation is we're really trying to figure out what the family, the family is hard and grieving of the situation, but some people gotta understand it. But it's just hard. I know I ain't got no racist part in my body. You know what I'm saying? I respect my friends and what I'm saying, wish them well. I would never put them in no situation like that. You know what I'm saying? If I'm the only, if they the only, I say, for instance, to the shoe on the other foot. If my Caucasian friend was around nothing but black folks like me, I wouldn't make it hard for them. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do nothing like that to make it difficult for them to learn or difficult for them to understand. I try to open the understanding up. I'll be the first one to try to open the understanding up to them so they can pick up and carry the torch from where I left out. That's what my organization feel, but that's too much information right there. But like I say, man, I don't think no racist or but I could be wrong. It could be some foul play in this. You know what I'm saying? But from my perspective, because you never can the all seeing eye sees the eye. You know what I'm saying? You can say who's your real friend and who's not your real friend. Like, carry on.
If there's a stark difference between the examinations, whether the state's examination leads to simply a drowning with no evidence of foul play or any strangulation or struggle versus a independent investigation from the family that shows otherwise, I think that makes it draws some suspicion. I think that just from the history of how unfortunately things have been in the South historically and still that we deal with today, and the way this investigation has rolled out, the family felt the need to do their own independent investigation. I think the toxicology report is going to be telling as well, because if you're in the water and you have some alcohol in your system, it may be more difficult to swim and things of that.
Let me stop it right there. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, like this gentleman right here just said, the family, they feel like this guy. It's difficult to swim if you're drunk. Everybody knows that you can't swim when you're drunk, intoxicated, and all these emotions. And the truth comes out when you're drinking from a man perspective. If you really had secretly hate against someone or someone about something, as a young mind, teenage mind, it's gonna show up. It might be kind of foggy or cloudy, but if the answer is there, it's there. You know what I'm saying? It's right there in plain sight. But at the same time, we answer our own problems and people try to look out for themselves, you know what I'm saying, as a people, as a race. But at the same time, some races has always been, feeling a certain kind of way about, other races. But like I said, me personally, I admire other races because some work that they do, I admire it a lot. And probably it's vice versa. Some of the stuff that I do, you know what I'm saying, some people out of a different race could admire that. So why not just come together and be great together? You know what I'm saying? But not not in this situation right here. I don't. It's still some unsolved issues here that what I'm saying that people really don't know. You know what I'm saying? But the way it looks, what I'm saying, it looks like a brother's in danger because he's around a bunch of Caucasian friends that from what history taught us, what I'm saying, you can't trust it. But that stuff is wrong sometimes because I got a Caucasian friend. She explains to me every day. You know what I'm saying? Those days are over with, play. But some of those people thoughts and ideas still is inside of, what I'm saying, our Caucasians mind. But some Caucasians know the truth and they what I'm saying, they willing to just bring it out and not hide nothing from the people because there's no race better than the other race. You know what I'm saying? We are all God's creatures out here. It doesn't matter what race you is, black or white, we all God's creatures, you know what I'm saying? And the message still gonna get to the person that needs to hear the message. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna hit home and the person is out here like that and dealing with a lot of different people from a different race, it's gonna hit home and people are gonna try to figure out and try to justify and they don't want it to be that way. But if it is that way, you know what I'm saying? What can we do, man? These faces of, you know, black men, young black men at that coming up, you know, you just gotta, you know, this whole situation is different because where the situations come from, you know. You're on show on Horn Island with, you know what I'm saying, different race than you, and there's majority of them than you. You know what I'm saying? So people might not see it the same way as you. So your opinion you just got an opinion when it gets like that. When you're around people, a lot of different people from your race, it don't matter if they fucking, you could be a white person, you could be around a bunch of Asians or whatever. Or you could be a white person around a bunch of, you know what I'm saying, Russian people or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. So when it's like that, all you got is your opinion. So your opinion matters, or your opinion don't matter to some people or individuals. You know what I'm saying? Because people are gonna see it their way, regardless of what you gotta say. They're gonna see it their way. Just like black people, we got it bad too. I know we see stuff our way all the time. You know, from tape, radio, and films, we see it all the time. It's another situation of a racial situation, but sometimes you look deep down in the situation, it could be something totally, you know what I'm saying, game changers going totally the opposite way of what we thinking. You know what I'm saying? But like me, I'm a minority of people like that because I have a lot of white friends, you know, and I think highly of them. I think a lot of my white friends, you know what I'm saying? I'm from the South because I admire my white friends, but you know what I'm saying? I ain't no sucker or nothing like that. But I open my white friends up to my vision, you know what I'm saying, to see what I see. But at the same time, we go through stuff, and a lot of stuff is unsolved and haven't been revealed yet. So that's why we hear people stepping up, trying to collaborate what's going on in the world. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, no brothers want to be in no situation like that. You ain't got no voice to say something and get people to understand where you're coming from with stuff. Yeah, it's just rough all around the board, man. And I just had to get that out and, you know, let clear the air that, you know, everybody's not racist, but at the same time, people could be, and that just, you know what I'm saying, let's overrate the whole situation that turns it south too quick, and we really need to get some answers and understand before people start making those judgments and saying people are like that, you know. But some people are secretly like that, and some ain't. So with that being said, we're gonna go into this presentation in the outro of this, you know what I'm saying, the outro of this, you know, interview with this Nolan Wells. So we can clear our systems and clear our minds and, you know, just want this young brother's soul to be free, man. He's just not turned 18. We want his soul to be free and we want him to be, you know what I'm saying, remember. And we don't want nobody to, you know, death to go uncalled. That's like a lot of police work at the same time. But it's people, you know, when people, it's for the people, you gotta be for the people. You gotta be for yourself, just like those people are. If it's one of those bad situations, those people are for themselves. So, you know, it's time to lawyer up. If they did it, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna lawyer up and try to justify their situation or justify themselves, but no evidence, but no case, no nothing. So it's just like just another unsolved mystery. So carry on.
Nature. So the toxicology report is going to be very important, and more information regarding the autopsy about his actual how he actually unfortunately lost his life is going to be relevant for both sides. Whether the state sees this as evidence of there being foul play, or the family sees it as more so evidence of the state not doing a thorough investigation and being willing to pursue charges.
I think I said it at the beginning. Look, these are big developments. This is a critical time in this case. I just hope the family gets the answers that they're looking for, and we'll stay on top of it. Tyler Bailey, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
And I'm gonna stop it right there. Same thing, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna find out what they're gonna find out. But lawyers and stuff are in place, you know, for people to be, you know, that bring understanding. Why would somebody do this? You know, what will possess a person to be like this? And these are my outro. This is gonna be my outro crux of this situation today because it's really beyond me. And I just try to shine a little light on this situation from my perspective, how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? I be in situations like that, and I find myself in situations like that because I do have a lot of white friends, but I think a lot of them, and I think my white friends think a lot about me too, but at the same time, you can't trust the system that's in place. You know, you can't trust it because there's no big eyes. You know what I'm saying? A person, but if you're around me, there's no big eyes and little U's. You know what I'm saying? When you're around guys like me, you know what I'm saying? We accept you with open arms, but you know what I'm saying? It just showed me, it just opened my eyes up of a clear view. You know, when a person can get in and just you know what I'm saying, just cut you completely off. You know, and the way the world going, man, ain't no way that a brother can justify himself when you got, you know what I'm saying, the system is over you, all these individuals over you already thinking, your mind is already thinking like that, you know what I'm saying? This is US of A, you know what I'm saying? We, as young brothers out here, we don't, you know what I'm saying, the eyes are not fully open to this situation, but we trying our best to, you know, figure it out and take one step, you know what I'm saying, at a time. Because I don't want to be one of those individuals around somebody, you know what I'm saying? I'm the only brother around the majority of people that really secretly like me, you know, secretly don't like me with the, you know, with that demon effect in them, and they trying to see clearly with the demon effect. How could you, I don't understand that part. Me, from a gentleman coming from my organization, is trying to break down and cipher these situations about what's going on here today. This is my last time speaking on this situation. My first time speaking on it and all that. And I'm just really trying to figure it out. Try to bring some, you know, bring some understanding to some of my people and some of my friends. You know, how do they look at me? How do my friends look at me? You know what I'm saying? As an individual, opposite skin color of yours, you know what I'm saying? But it's easier for the media to eat that shit up. But at the same time, they was friends before all this, you know what I'm saying, happened. But they say two minds is better than one. You know, real talk. That's truth in it. Two minds is always better than one. There ain't no way around it. You know what I'm saying? Just put the shoe on the other foot too, and try to cipher some stuff and understand too. If it's a white dude around nothing but, you know what I'm saying, black people, you know what I'm saying, it could be numbers of things. When you think about it, how does black people feel about one different person of opposite race to them? We know how we think already. We know what could happen, what, you know what I'm saying, what would happen, and what should happen, what, you know, or any of it. But I don't like to speak on situations like this because I kind of see, you know what I'm saying, myself in situations like that because I know I got friends that I think a lot of, like I said earlier, man. I got friends that I think a lot of, and I think that everybody should be straight up and just come forth and just explain the situation, the truth about it, what you really feel about it, or what really happened or went on right here. Because I'm just speaking in general for minority because some people say the family, they think the family is just, you know, just can sleep good at night without the answers, but some people are just, you know, they putting on this little front like everything's all right. But deep down inside, when they get home, they know that stuff is killing them inside, and they're trying to figure out how to justify themselves. You know, in this world that we live in, and the system is in design and pieces put in place, and people just, you know, we out here, we're trying to just better ourselves, man. That's what we know. That's what we go by. And these are outro of this. So carry on. And maybe next time I have a little bit more to say about this situation, or a little bit more information to give you, maybe solve this case or this family. But at the same time, family want answers, but people, as you know what I'm saying, as people need answers too. Because if you got more white friends than you got black friends, evidently there's the problem here. We can see a problem here, and I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, because I apply it to my life, because I'm there all the time, man. I'll be in situations like that all the time. Who's to say I won't be the next individual like it? But I doubt that, and I put that out of my mind, because this ain't it. My matters are a lot worse, and a lot difficult to deal with. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have your thinking cap on. But that's my time, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to make to an hour on here. That's my time and everything. And I want everybody to subscribe to my YouTube for a little bit more information about situations like this. I say it's black files in America. That's how I label it. But yeah, when situations like this come out, people will have to have their own opinion and how you living, or as a person, your situation, and you apply to theirs, and and try to have vision and see your way out of it. But there's a lot going on, man. This stuff is, we don't need this stuff escalating and duplicating, and none of that right there. I'm trying to find answers here and trying to figure it out so we can better ourselves as a people. You know what I'm saying? Because me, general, I deal with, like I said, man, I deal with people outside my race all the time, and I try to get them a fair, you know what I'm saying? Try. I ain't bashing nobody about nothing, but like I said, man, we all, you know what I'm saying, is a people, man. You gotta look out for your humanity. Say it like that. We're looking out for humanity as people, because it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse if you're not. You want to pick sides, choose sides and stuff, and all that. They're just going to escalate and make the problem even worse, because the people that you escalating in, they could be right there with you at the same time around your crowd, or around the people that you hang with, around the folks that you kick it with every day. They could be there and looking at you with them eyes, but I'm gonna deny that and say it's not, because I don't want that to keep escalating. I'm trying to put a stop on this. You know what I'm saying? To try to keep everybody focused on one mind. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I'm trying to wake this sleeping giant up. If you really want to know, and that's the peace party. Everybody put them guns down. You know what I'm saying? Put these situations down. You know what I'm saying? The demons in your mind telling you to do this, all that. But yeah, like I said, that's my time, y'all. Till next time, I'll have a little time to interview and speak and collaborate a little bit more with you. Until next time, peace.